Welcome to 10 at 10. My name is Michael Ramage. I'm the director of the Cyber Educational Research Center here at Murray State University, and welcome back to 10 at 10. 10 at 10 is brought to you through a partnership between Murray State University, Grow West, the Technology Council of West Kentucky, KY Innovation, and local partners, Sprocket Innovation in Paducah and the Kentucky Innovation Station in Madisonville. Welcome back to episode 187. Last week we talked about the news, and one of the things that we talked about were the increasing number of lawsuits due to data breaches. And the reason that these lawsuits are happening is because they are all claiming that organizations did not take adequate care and take adequate and proper precautions to protect this data. And what is happening is that if you are not doing following best practices, industry frameworks, continually improving your security, then you are no longer doing what is necessary. So I posed a thing maybe we'll talk about in a future episode about how to do that continuous planning. And I had somebody reach out to me and said, would you please talk about that? So let me highlight this. And I'm going to talk about this today. And I'm going to look at it from a few different perspectives. First of all, I guess I should give the disclaimer. Cybersecurity and project management are two of my favorite topics. So this kind of blends those two together. If it also included broadband, then that would be the triple crown for me, the trifecta, so to speak. But when we're talking about cybersecurity, first of all, well, let me just I'll pose the question. How do you continuously plan for cybersecurity? That's what we're talking about. How do you continuously plan? And so first of all, you've got to have some framework, some place to start with. And what I mean by that is that, back in the day, you would have leaders that would go to a conference and say, hey, they talked about this firewall, and you would come home and you would go buy that firewall and you would implement it. And I'm done. I've done all the security things I need to do. We don't live in that world today. That we're just in a different place. So the question becomes, how do I ensure that I am continuing to plan to do the things that we need to do? And so the first step is follow a framework. So NIST came out, and we talked about this on 10 at 10, I don't know, a few months ago. NIST came out with version 2.0 of their cybersecurity framework. It starts with identify, protect, detect, respond, recover. And all around the inner circle of that is governance. You identify, you protect, you detect, you respond, you recover. Then you identify, you protect, you detect, you respond, you recover. This is a continuous cycle. It's intentional that it's in a circle. It's intentional that there's not a beginning and the end. Yeah, maybe you have to start with identify because you got to know what you're protecting. But your assets, your digital assets, your physical assets are always changing. Your computers are always being upgraded. Your software is always adding. Your people, all of the things in your organization continually change. So this process is continually changing. What that means is that you need to follow a governance. You need to look at each component. So if you look at the framework of the cybersecurity framework from NIST, it has several subcomponents, and it has steps and things that you should do to help comply with the identify area and the protect area and the detect area. It's not a do this, I'm done with it forever. It's a continual process. Okay, maybe you're not going to follow the NIST framework. Well, this slide, I saw this chart from ConnectWise, and it just has NIST, it has ISO, it has CIS controls, it has SOC 2, PCI, COBIT, High Trust, CMMC. There's a ton of different governance frameworks, cybersecurity frameworks that you could follow. NIST is one standard. Is it the only standard? Absolutely not. Some people are going to follow the CIS controls instead, or some are that are international companies are going to follow the international standard instead of the US based standard. It doesn't matter to me as much about which one you follow, because there's common elements throughout all of them. Most of them can map to one another, so you can see how in this framework this matches up with that component in that framework. The framework doesn't matter as much to me. What the framework shows is that you're using a best practice to go through this process. That to me is the important piece. And the other part of this is that it is not a go through this process one time and be done. This is a lean manufacturing agile type of concept here. You plan, you do, you check, you act. And then you plan, you do, you check. This is one of those cycles that you're going to go through. And it came out of lean manufacturing, but it's in project management now. It's in agile planning. It's in software development. It's in a lot of different areas, including cybersecurity. And the idea is that we're going to plan, we're going to do something, we're going to check to see its effectiveness, and then we're going to make some sort of decision based on whatever those metrics are. So we are continually planning, we're continually doing, we're continually checking, and we're continually acting on the data. This is continual improvement. There's a lot of different Six Sigma, different things that talk about continual improvement, and this is one way to do that. So here's the beauty of what I want to get to today is that we can take that mindset and plan for cybersecurity. So when we're planning for cybersecurity, this is an X and a Y axis. There's security of critical processes on the Y axis. It's time on the X axis. And the diagonal is cybersecurity improvement. How we do that is we follow one of those frameworks. And over time, we're going to assess, we're going to plan, we're going to do, we're going to check, we're going to act. We're going to get a little bit further along in our maturity, our cybersecurity maturity, by reassessing. And when I say reassessing, replanning, we're cybersecurity is about managing risk. So we're going to continually plan and assess the new risk that we're seeing, that we're identifying, and we're going to go to the next phase. Our risks change, our assets change, the complexity of our organization changes. So we're continuing to do that. But the goal is that over time, if we continue to plan, if we continue to implement based on that planning, if we have a dashboard, if we have some key performance indicators that show how well we're planning, then we're going to be able to improve our security. Why do we want to go through the hassle? Why do we want to do all this? The reason is that if we don't make planning a continual function, then if something were to happen, unfortunate to our organization, and customer data was compromised, then we're going to be held liable because we could be held liable. Let me be clear. We could be held liable because we did not take adequate precautions to protect data. To be clear, we can do all the right things and still have a data breach. We can do all the things that we know we should do, and it's still, that horrible event could take place. What I want you to hear me saying is that while nothing's 100%, being deliberate about taking these steps is going to reduce our risk. And ultimately, if something bad were to happen to our customers and they came to us wanting legal action, then we can say that we did everything that we can do. If you've heard me speak in person, you've probably heard me say that there's no person or organization in this world that is not hackable with enough time, money, and resources. What this intentional planning does is to ensure that we are providing adequate resources. Not all the resources. It's risk management. There's a risk assessment that has to be done, but we're providing adequate. If you want me to know how to summarize this, the answer is to be intentional with your cybersecurity planning. Be intentional. I want you to make sure that you are intentionally planning for the security of your organization. I'm not saying that you have to implement every bell and whistle and cool gee whiz cybersecurity tool that's out there in the industry. Absolutely not. I'm not saying that. Don't hear me say that. What I am saying is that you need to be intentional about making sure that you're managing the risk and assessing and applying the appropriate measures to address those risks. That's what I'm saying. That's what I hope you take away from today, because it is a serious issue and a lot of organizations are on the unfortunate end of some of these lawsuits. If you have questions about this, let me know, reach out, and I'm happy to talk about these more. This is a really interesting topic for me, so I'm happy to help and direct you to resources in our region if you have any questions. Thank you very much for joining, and I'll see you next week back here on 10 at 10. Thank you. Bye.